The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Show you the way. Let me be your shining light. Keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try.
Hello, this is Patty Hunter. Welcome to my show. It's Patty's Page. To my left is John Dickmeyer. Hello there.
Hello, Patty. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And to his left is Herb Hernandez.
Hello, Patty.
Sir.
How are you? Good to see you again.
It's great. So, we're here to interview you, you know.
Okay.
So, hope you don't mind.
No, I don't.
Another half hour, and then we'll just go right into it. So, Herb, where were you born?
I was born here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, at St. Joe Hospital, in
St. Joe?
1948.
1948?
Yes.
You're a year older than my husband, eh?
Well,
Yeah.
if he eats right, he'll be hopefully live as long as I have.
One more year. So, were you growing up here all your life here
Yes.
in Fort Wayne?
Yes. I went to Hillcrest Elementary for grade school, and then I went to Kikianga Junior High School.
Kikianga.
Yes.
Cool.
And then I went to Elmer's High School, and I graduated from there in 1966. And then I worked for about 6 months, and then I attended IPFW for 2 years, then dropped here at the Fort Wayne campus. Then I took a leave of absence, well, not a leave of absence, but I just didn't have any more money, so I took a break and worked for a year, worked a full-time job and a part-time job, and transferred to the main campus, IU Bloomington, and graduated from there.
So what were you taking? What was your major?
My major ended up being Spanish, majored in Spanish and minored in business administration and economics.
So you didn't speak Spanish around the house?
Oh yeah, we did, but the challenges with most Spanish speakers, especially Mexican, which I'm Mexican, they can speak the language, but they don't know how to read it and they don't know how to write it. So, and the grammar's not proper either. So that's why I did what I did.
Well, you're doing good.
Thank you. Gracias.
Gracias. What's the word? What's the word saying you're welcome? Por nada.
De nada.
De nada. Oh, I have Spanish in me.
Good, good.
Spanish Armada, Queen Elizabeth I, and
Oh
all
my,
that.
I'm among
Many
royalty.
moons ago. Oh, I'm not worthy.
No, only a sailor here.
Anyways, you have a lot of siblings, like sister, brother.
Oh yes, yeah. My parents, when they finished having children, there was a total of 12.
Oh. And
the firstborn for my mother, unfortunately, was a stillborn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then the seventh one died of sudden infant death syndrome. But the rest of us survived. And my mother's still living. She's about...
She is?
Yeah, I think my siblings will kill me. I think she's 87 or 88.
Well, that's a good age.
And my father died in 1993 at age 68.
Oh.
Died of cancer, was a heavy smoker. And
my mother died in 1980 at 68.
did she? Okay.
Yeah, that hit home for a couple of seconds there.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Our condolences about that.
Yeah, thank you.
So, who had influenced you the most while you were growing up to become what you're doing now?
Well, that's hard to say. I think
I'm sure you had a couple.
Well, it was really my mother and my father, most of
Yes.
all, first. My dad helped me develop the work ethic with that many kids.
He has to.
My dad always had a full-time job and a part-time job because my mother couldn't work. She had to stay home and take care of the kids. Just like every other year, she was pregnant. And I asked my dad, "Dad, why do we have so many kids?" He says, "I don't know." He says, "But after a while I got home, I was afraid to come home and ask, what's new?"
Well, the Lord says you are to have a big family.
Yeah.
You're there.
Yeah.
That's
And
good.
then from the compassion side, I learned that from my mother. My
Yeah.
mother was always very helpful to people in the neighborhood, but more so Hispanic Latinos who were here in the area, moved here to find a job, to find a place to live. And so my mother, our house was I don't want to call it a halfway house, but she let them stay and she would feed them, and after a while they would stay for a couple weeks and then off they'd go after they became more independent. And so
That
I
was
saw
like
that
a
from my
foster
mother.
home or something.
No, it
Not
was
really.
just a thing that Latinos do.
Ah, I like Latinos.
Yeah,
Well, since I'm part Spanish.
yeah.
But they're so friendly and warm.
Well, it depends on the day.
Okay. Oh boy.
I think that what a lot of people don't realize is when immigrants come to the United States, they're very, very much alone.
Yes.
And it is extremely helpful to find someone who knows how to speak the language,
Yes, that's
who
correct.
knows the customs, and can give them hints about how life is in the new community, and that's an important thing that others that have been around the United States for a while don't realize.
It's almost like a culture shock
That's
coming
correct.
from Mexico.
Yes, yes, it
Oh my
is.
God.
But the good news here in Fort Wayne, most people will say a high percentage, 90-95%, like coming to Fort Wayne because it is an open community, very
Yes, it
open.
is.
Although there is anti-immigrant feelings in other parts of the country, we don't feel them here. Now, I could go on and on other issues, but the point is that when they arrive here, they usually have another family member who's here, or a
Sponsor.
cousin, or some distant relative.
Right.
And then, if you'll allow me to also compliment Catholic Charities with Luz Piedad Estrada does a wonderful job over there
Yes, I heard
helping
of
immigrants get situated, and again, without being focusing on one faith, but the Catholics have done a great job, beginning
With the Burmese.
and with the Burmese, and this goes back to the early 1960s when Castro took over Cuba.
Oh, I-
and a lot of families
I forgot
sent
about
their
it.
children here, and I know several Cubans who have lived here and grown up here and done very well. And one of my good friends is Pedro Ledo, who was here in the 1960s, and he's done very well, graduated from Indiana Purdue campus, married Sharon, I forgot Sharon's last maiden name, but Sharon Ledo now, and she taught Spanish at Northside for so many years, and they have several adult children, very one, and his son Ben was Hispanic liaison for Governor Mitch Daniels during his first term.
Oh.
So they have
that's
contributed, we
cool.
all have contributed.
Do you teach at all?
No, I don't
No.
teach any language at all.
You went to universities and colleges and all that. When you graduated, what'd you go into? I mean, what kind of jobs have you been doing? I understand you, about the year 2000, something happened. What?
In the year 2000, well, when I graduated from IU, I did have a teaching degree, and I did my student teaching, but that wasn't what I really wanted to do. I wanted to be an import-export,
Yeah.
and at that time, the local companies weren't hiring. The economy was very slow, and at that time, the USA was not focusing on that as much as they are now. So things have changed. And then I did take time off around 1987 to go to law school. I went on a 2-year program at Ohio Northern Law School, so I was done in 2 years. I had my wife and my daughter with me, who was just 4 years old, and
Yeah.
my spouse told me at that time that you either, because I talked about it for a while, and she says, well, look, you either go now or we're not, because once you start school, I'm not moving. So that was the main factor for me to go on that quick turnaround time. I don't recommend it because I was very mentally tired after I finished.
Oh, I bet you're
But
exhausted.
to answer your other question, in 2000, I was elected county councilman at large, and I enjoyed that job. It was a good job. focusing on keeping everyone's tax rate low. But it was more than that. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes politically that would take more than 30 minutes to review that.
Was that one term?
Yeah, that's the one term, yeah. Hmm.
So what does Allen County Councilman-At-Large do?
Well, you're mainly concerned about the budget of the county. Each department during the summer submits their budget of their line item expenses, anywhere from office supplies to capital equipment, computers, copy machines, to salaries. So we have to look at each one. Also employee benefits, and that was one of my strengths because that was what I was in my practice, was employee benefits and labor law. And
GOP? Did
yeah.
you work for the GOP?
No, I did not work for the GOP.
Well, who'd you work for?
Or I was on myself.
Ah.
I had my own private practice.
But you helped the Hispanics who lived here in Fort Wayne?
No. My emphasis was the privately held corporations, closed corporations.
Oh.
Okay.
So after you finish your term, what'd you do?
Well, let's see. From there, then I just really focused on contributing more time to boards. I've served on several boards over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I looked over about 25 boards over the years, and I was officer of about half of them. About 10 of the boards I was an officer, either president, vice president. Yeah.
So you were elected?
Yeah.
All of them?
Yeah.
Or, oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you name a few, or are
Sure.
you allowed?
I hope I don't offend anyone, because as you get
just
older,
a
my
few.
memory's short. But the one, I was on the Parkview Health Board for 9 years, from 2001 to 2010.
Right.
And so I was very proud of my involvement with the Parkview system, making the decision to build the one out on DuPont Road. And
Oh,
for
really?
most people,
That's a
yeah,
beautiful hospital.
yeah, we had a lot of meetings and a lot of subcommittee meetings, and that was a process that took 3 years in the planning before they even started. So I have to compliment the Parkview executive management on the details that they went to. I don't want to start naming names, but it was very well planned, very well organized. They had experts from around the country coming in to give us advice, and they took trips to other places to see the type of hospitals that they had built.
I've been there a couple of times
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, and I've been on United Way Board, Arts
Oh,
United, which I
Arts
enjoyed very much.
United.
Arts United, and I served all 6 terms. 6 years. The terms are 3 years. So
Urban League?
and I had not served on the Urban League Board. I'm employed by them now to help them with their housing and mortgage foreclosures, which I enjoy helping the homeowners. But that is a very emotional type position because people are stressed. They don't know the rules about when can a lender take away your home, and they don't realize.
Foreclosure.
Yeah, they don't realize that Indiana is a judicial foreclosure state, so they cannot send you a summons or lawsuit until after 6 months. You can live in your home 6 months and not make a mortgage payment. So people don't know that.
Oh,
And I
that's the
served
first
on
time.
other boards, so United Way, and I'm currently also on the Education Opportunity Center Board, which we help at-risk children, help them improve their scores so they can get into college, help them with the FAFSA financial paperwork so they can get into college. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
cool.
a lot of boards. I've enjoyed them all.
Do you deal with child abuse?
No, do not deal with that at all. No.
Okay.
That's SCAN, so
SCAN.
I've not had the opportunity to even, and didn't have the time before either. But that is a very noble organization that I don't think I would to be able to handle that myself.
Well, we're with TRAC, Three Rivers Arts Center for Kids,
Yeah.
and we are of the arts,
Mm-hmm.
doing events, bringing awareness of child abuse here in Fort Wayne
Mm-hmm.
and elsewhere. So that's what I'm the director of that.
Good for you. Good for you.
And Patty, you can name the big event that we did last summer and we're planning on doing again.
River drums.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're doing it again. It'll be in the evening this time, not all day. Oh my goodness, it was 90 degrees all day. Oh,
music,
goodness.
etc.
Yeah. And you're welcome to come.
Okay, thank you for the
Everybody,
invitation.
it's for the whole
Yeah,
community.
for the community. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, I'd like to focus a little bit on what you're doing with the Urban League. And, you know, I hear a lot on television that the economy is doing well.
it is.
And I
Hey,
don't know
right.
that I believe that. I believe that the recovery is segmented. What are your ideas on that?
Well, I think that when there are statistics like that in the newspaper, a person has to think about what they're reading and the context in which those statistics are giving. The important part is when they give the unemployment rate, it's a national statistic.
Right.
They don't give the state statistic, and they don't give the county or the Northeast Indiana region statistic. So there are three different things that we need to look at. And although that the national average, we're up with the national average in the state, but we have certain at-risk demographic groups here in Fort Wayne and Allen County that are not gainfully employed, and that percentage is much lower.
How about the older set?
That is a challenge. Individuals who are over 65 and who have the desire to work and are physically able to work
Right.
and have the mental acuity to work should be working somewhere. Unfortunately, some employers, and I call myself a senior because some employers do not want to hire seniors.
I know.
And so we've all been through that. But the point is that employers are missing out on the brain trust that we have. We're more
Experience.
calm, we have more experience, we're able to deal with issues a lot better than someone right out of college or high school. They just don't have that maturation experience that we have.
Do you think they're going to raise 65 up to 70 in law, in the courts or whatever?
I don't know. We'll have to, monitor that closely. Politics is issues change on the moment, change on what some vocal groups want done, but we have to come back and analyze that a little bit too.
We, the people, have to decide
Exactly.
that.
If it's a demographic group that represents only 14% of the population, I don't think I would want to listen to them very much, even though they're the most vocal. But then if you've got the silent majority, which is more than, let's say 51%, that's where these elected officials should be communicating with. And the other part is that, of that question is, I'm not blaming the silent majority, but at some point the silent majority has to let their legislators know what their thoughts are. If you aren't part of the political process with issues, then you're never going to be heard.
Yeah. Yes.
What that does is there are so many people that sit back and all they get is anger, and all they show is anger, when I agree with you, when they actually add to the political process, when they contact their representatives and let them know how they feel, then we have a much better use of government, and you have more representative government.
That's correct. I agree with you, John.
Asset and Estate Management Incorporated. What was your role in that one?
Well, that was the corporation where I did employee benefits and labor law. And I retired from that in 2012, primarily because during that time, and I do respect President Obama, he's been a great president. even though he's a Democrat, even though I'm a Republican, but I take a look at, let's look at the, at the approach that this individual is taking with issues.
Yeah.
And the Obamacare, the health program, did have two benefits that I felt was fair for the public. Number one is it forced insurance companies to cover everyone with pre-existing conditions.
Me.
Prior to that, they
Yeah.
would not.
Yeah.
They would not. Secondly, they made the insurance premium affordable in the earlier years so that people could have insurance.
Right.
And that's the thing that I did when I was writing these documents for employers, where it was a trend of, first of all, for group insurance, is what I specialize in pension plans, where the group insurance premiums were going up anywhere from 15 to 20% for the employer. And that's where they got more concerned about health care. And so there was a period of 5 years where we were doing what we called self-funded, where we draft documents where the employer would agree to pay the first $5,000 of all claims, or up to $10,000 of all claims, and then the premium for the employees would come down. And even though they didn't have to pay it only if there was a claim. So if there were no claims, the employer didn't have to pay the $10,000, and the premiums were much lower. The premiums were cut by 25%. And so that worked for a while. Then after that third year, then all of a sudden the employees started submitting claims, and then the employer started having to pay out of their reserve account.
It's
and then it
workman's
continued.
comp or something like that?
No, I didn't deal in workman's comp. This is
Oh.
entirely different. This is the claim. So
The benefits.
yeah, so if you had to have surgery, if an employee had to have surgery and the bill was, for example, $30,000, well, then the employer had to pay the first $10,000,
Right.
and then the insurance company would pay the next $20,000.
So the actual person didn't have to pay.
No.
They're not trying to change that again, are they?
Well, that's already been changed by Obamacare, so that's going out of the way. That's why I retired from it, because during that time period from 2010 to 2012, it was there, and then from 2012 I saw that it was going to get even more challenging. So I said that's enough for me, because when you give your recommendation to your client, you're stuck with that, and if you don't give the right information, then you could be subject to a potential lawsuit. So I just didn't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
The issue is catastrophic care.
Yes.
That's the big issue, and I agree. That's what the Affordable Care Act has helped with, and you're right. The other one is insurability, and those are two things that we had to take care of, and the third one is, can I get any insurance if I'm not employed by a company that wants to provide insurance?
Now, the next new issue in there we have to be careful is about, and it was starting again about 2000, and I'd say probably about 2013, was genetic discrimination. So if an insurance company wanted to take a look at if your family had a propensity for a certain catastrophic health condition, they didn't want to insure you.
Like cancer?
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
I have COPD.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I'm covered.
Yeah. And the problem with that is then it's going to be focusing on, again, certain medical conditions, also certain ethnic groups too.
You mean that they're taking it out on the people who are going through this
Exactly.
dramatic thing,
Yeah.
and they're punishing them for being ill or whatever. And I didn't like that.
Well, that's where we have to work hard, making sure that we communicate with our local legislators here in Allen County and at the state level. And so everyone needs to know which district they live in and communicate with their legislators, and you can do that by email. And all you have to do is to go to indiana.gov and look at the latest issues and the bills. This is a thing that I think people are not aware of, is that they have committee meetings first. And then you want to take a look and see what's the bill, what's the name. This is what they're talking about. For example, RAFRA was a big fiasco, Religious Freedom Act. But we didn't know about it because we didn't know the number of the bill. After it was got some, what we call, got legs on it, where it goes from walking to running, it became a very fast-moving bill. and people didn't know about it, so they weren't able to contact their legislators in time to let them know, wait, don't vote for this. So we have some issues right now that we need to work on and making sure we let our legislators know.
So with Trump in, I hope everything turns out smoothly. Right now it's not as smooth, but I hope everything sort of settles down and we can be able to have a good government.
Yeah, well, for me, I've had political burnout because I've been watching the news closely for the last 6 months, and I've about had it after the election. I realized that I need to give myself, my brain and my emotions a break because he was extremely offensive. I'm a Republican, but the point is that I got criticism from a lot of my friends. Said, wait a sec. I said, look, I'm not voting for Donald Trump. Unfortunately, I'm not voting for president this year because I really could not support the philosophies of either one. They're good people. I like Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. She does a great job. She's had a lot of, unfortunately, let's call them negative issues she had to deal with during her lifetime. But I resent President-elect Donald Trump was never held accountable for his statement that she's been 30 years in Congress. She has not been 30 years in Congress. The lady, yes, Secretary of State.
She's been
around, but she has not had an elected official only until when she was elected senator from the state of New York. So that was unfair. But the issues that President-elect Trump brought up offended a lot of groups. And I just hope that after the inauguration, things will improve. But like I said, I'm giving it a break, let him work through his transition. I'm not making any comments on who he is because
he's got a lot of people around him. Maybe they can help him mold.
Yeah, let's hope, yeah.
So, this is almost the end of the show. What do you have to say, my friend?
What do I have to say? Well, I remember Herb from when we worked on a project with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, yeah.
And a wonderful organization that I would put forward if you're in business. That's an organization you ought to look up and get affiliated with.
Well, thank you, John. I forgot to mention I am on their board. and we've been in existence over 25 years, and we have over 100 members.
I have to have you back on my show.
Well, thank you. I'd be happy to be delighted to come back.
Hernandez.
Thank
you have a G in front of the Herb. What does that stand
Guadalupe.
for? Guadalupe.
Yeah, my birth certificate is Guadalupe Heriberto Hernandez. So that's why I just, over the years, I just went by her.
I like that name.
Yeah.
It rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, yeah.
So, this is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Yeah, Thanksgiving is just around the corner. So, I don't know when you'll be seeing this show, but we had a great week, and we're going to see you next week. Thank you.
Godspeed, my love, until we meet again. You're always in my heart and every dream. Don't let this time apart give in to all our fears. God will keep us close from up above. So until